we're going to read today, right now, is The Thing Around Your Neck. So with the title, what do you think, or what idea does the title give you?
It gives me the idea that this story is going to be like something that is like around your neck, but it's not like actually like present. It's like something in your mind maybe.
Okay. So, what else? Okay. So, this is written by one of my favorite authors. Her name is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's Nigerian, and she always writes about migration and about sexism and about a lot of interesting topics. So with that in mind, we're going to start. I'm going to read to you, okay? So if you want, you can follow along and things. Okay, so you thought everybody in America had a car and a gun. Your uncles and aunts and cousins thought so too. Right after you won the American Hour to find a hair salon that did black hair. The trick was to understand America, to know that America was give and take. You gave up a lot, but you gained a lot too. So in this part, why do you think the uncle said that America was, when you went to America, it was about a giving and take that you gave?
Because when you go to America, and especially as like an immigrant, you have to give a lot of things up. Like for example, your family. You have to like to adapt to the environment that you're put in. So you give out a lot of things, but America also gives you a lot, like he said, like a good job and a good neighborhood and a good house.
Okay. He showed you how to apply for a cashier job. Something would wrap itself around your neck, something that very nearly choked you before you fell asleep. So now with what we've read, and going back to the title, what do you think she's talking about when she's talking about the thing in her neck?
Well, I know like it's something that's actually like not present, so it can like maybe be like anxiety or stress because all of that she's going through with her job and what happened, that they almost raped her, right? So maybe it's like a feeling that like you sometimes when you are stressed or have anxiety, you have this feeling like you can't breathe, and maybe it's that.
Okay. So in this part, I think she actually hurt herself, you know, in the back when it says that she went into the wall and like she bumped into it and so she had bruises. Okay. So many people at the restaurant asked you to say goodbye to him, but also made you reluctant to walk away. And then the fifth night, you panicked when he was not standing at the door after your shift. You prayed for the first time in a long time, and when he came up behind you and said, hey, you said yes, you would go out with him, even before he asked. You were scared he would not ask again. The next day, he took you to dinner at Chang's, and your fortune cookie had 2 strips of paper. Both of them were blank. Okay, so what was different about this guy that made her, like, what was different about this guy than other people who treated her?
That usually the other people or knew almost nothing about Africa and asked like questions that were kind of ignorant and offensive, or they thought that they knew too much and were like kind of obsessed with it, like an obsession, and they acted like they're better than them, even though she obviously knows more because she lived there, but they act like they know more because they studied it.
Okay. You knew you had become comfortable when you told them that you watched Jeopardy on the restaurant TV and that you rooted for the following in this order: 1 man of color, black men, and white, because he thought the world ought to be full of people like him. You told him there was nothing to understand; it was just the way it was. Why do you think that she got not mad, but like she didn't like when he said that he understood what it felt?
Because I think she had like some kind of like indignation that his father has to like lay on the floor and beg for someone to like not make him pay for the damages because he doesn't have money, and it makes like it puts this other people in like an upper position, and it makes them feel less. So, and he also said like, even though like if I sell my whole family I can pay you. So that's like she felt, and it makes her angry that he actually acted like that and allowed that to happen.
Okay. And do you think that he really understood? Like sometimes we say like, "Oh, I understand," but do you think that he was a white man actually? He was a white man. Her being a black woman coming from Africa, do you think he could really say like, "Yes, I understand you," or no?
No. Often people say that just to like have empathy, like kind of empathy, but it actually like turns to pity. So when he says like, "Oh, I understand," I don't actually think he understands because he had like all of the money to like travel and being like white. So I don't think, because if we want it or not, people of color and minorities have it harder.
Okay. So, he found the African store in the Hartford Yellow Pages, and before he apologized, he gazed at you blankly, and you knew that he did not understand. Okay, so now we see this part again, that she felt like he didn't understand, and why do you think it affected her so much that people didn't believe her? She could be
Because it like is how do you like denigrating? Like, for example, when you go to a restaurant, often waiters tend to assume a lot of things, and they usually, something that also made me mad is that they refer only to the men. Like, they don't even talk to the woman. They're like, "Oh, he's gonna pay," and they can't believe they're together because of the race, because it's weird, well, not now, but it's weird to like see a black woman with a white man.
And he was Chinese. That was funny because it was not like he was not white. He was Chinese, and he was like even then not thinking that they could be together. Okay. He bought you presents, and when you objected about the cost, he said his grandfather. Why do you think this is happening? That the thing around your neck's actually letting go, like going?
Because maybe she's maybe all of this time she was like in denial, and what I can tell is like everything people do maybe her, like buck her, like everything people did, and I understand, but like you said, like sometimes you have to adapt. You can't change everyone even if you want to. So maybe there she's starting to like understand and let go of all of these things that are keeping her to like move on and start a new life.
Okay, let's continue. You knew by people's reactions that you were. So you see that this person talks in you and in past. So why do you think she didn't decide to like talk in like me,
I think first of all is because she doesn't feel like herself when she's in America, and she only like feels like herself when she's in Nigeria with her family, because in America she had to do a lot of things that she didn't like, and she says it like there were a lot of things that she did that she didn't feel like it was her, or she didn't want to do it but she didn't say anything about it.
Okay. And do you think that maybe it's when you, I don't know, when you do something and you try to like think about like see it in a rational way, do you think that she was like trying to analyze what she did, talking to herself like as an outer person?
Probably she was like trying, because she had no one. The only guy that he had was her boyfriend, but she really didn't tell him everything that was going on in her mind. So basically the only person that she had to talk to and to understand and help her cope with everything she was going through was her.
Okay. So remember that part when people were like, "Oh, and your hair, do you comb it? Can I touch it? Oh, your accent is so amazing because it's foreign." Do you think that that's okay to like I mean, from one side we have like discrimination and racism where you are like, "No, I don't want to see you," or "I'm afraid of you," but on the other side we have like this, you know, she said like some were really mean, other were really nice.
Yeah.
So do you think that being really nice is like okay?
Well, I
Or
think
what do you
because
think?
I had an experience actually, because I went to live in America also, and people are like so amazed when you are different, because they don't tend to see different over there. What I think and what bothers me and what I think that bothers her is like they don't treat her like a normal person. They are either too mean or too nice. It's like, why can't you just treat me like you would treat a white person or a normal person. Because if you go to school and you're white, people are not gonna come up to you and be like, oh, can I touch your hair, or oh, are you foreign? No, because they just assume you're white and you have like nothing else. But if you're like slightly different, people start to ask questions that can be rude, even if they don't mean to. It's like it's rude because she just wanted to be treated like a normal person.
Okay.
Like,
So we call this exotism and exoticizing people when we're like too overly on the other side of being really nice, apparently, but that can also offend people because we're like treating them super differently. Okay. And okay, so what has the story taught you, or what is the most, I don't know, the part that impacted you the most about the story? Or
well, what I like the most is that I related, and I felt related to what she was feeling, because she was like, there's times when she did some things but she actually didn't want to, and inside she knew and she wanted to say it but she didn't. And what like like the impact is what we think we know what minorities go through in America, but we actually don't, because we try to like feel empathy and everything, but at the end of the day it's even worse. Like you can't imagine like being treated totally different just because of the color of your skin or your accent. So I really like that it also helps you understand to like be not rude and not be too nice. Just treat people as humans because that's what they are. She's human.
And do you think that the writer, the author, had the right to talk about this? Because sometimes I took a writing class in college, and we were talking about something about staying in your lane. Like, I cannot try to put myself in the position of an indigenous person, to write about this, because I am not an indigenous person, and I don't know, like you said, what they go through. So do you think that she has the right to talk about this perspective, about this an African woman going to the US? Like, does she have the right to
I
do
don't
that?
know the background of her, but what you told me is that she's from Africa, right? So and she is writing in English, so I'm assuming that also happened to her, and maybe she took like her life experiences and turned it into this story. So I think she totally has the right to talk about it, because and you also can see in the writing she knows. Like, she's not like saying like, oh, turn Africa. She's specific, and she has a specific stories, and she knows the language and she knows the culture. So I think she had the right to write about this.
So in one of the parts where he said that he understood, in one of my classes we talk about privilege, and we all have privilege, and privilege is like the current in a river, let's say. If you're a fish and you swim with the current, you're okay, because, well, it's fine. But if you're a fish and you have to swim against the current, then you say, okay, I don't have privilege. But when you have it, you don't see it, because it's kind of invisible, you just move through it, but you don't see it. And in a way, do you think it is important to recognize this privilege as to maybe understand that we have a biased way of seeing the world?
Yes, it's really important, because we don't know what other people are going through, and it is like privilege in America is like you can really see it, like it's obvious. And first of all, it shouldn't happen. Like, that's totally wrong, and I don't think people should like be privileged just because of the color of their skin or their race. But he said he had money, and he didn't want to go to Canada, so that was his biggest problem. And she was like, what she thought, she was like, wow, like, I left my country, my dad died and everything, and the only thing he complains about is, oh, I don't want to go to Canada. So that's like third world problems, where people are like, oh, I hate my life because I can buy the new phone. It's like, there's actually people that are suffering, and you need to like take that into consideration. Like, you are privileged, and you have to, because it exists, so you have to like not take care of it, but be careful with it, because
be aware, maybe.
Yeah, be aware. Like, you need to know if you're privileged, you are privileged, and don't be like, oh no, I'm not privileged, or be in total denial because it makes you be an advantage.
Yeah. Okay. So